Words.
Uh,
Great. I see
yeah,
recording.
is
So,
recording.
okay. So from the top. Okay. Today is Thursday, August 13th. Um, we've got Mark on the line with us. This is a town hall meeting for the Nervos video project. We are going to see a showcase from Mark. Mark's going to introduce himself, talk a little bit about his experience in video production and just in general working in the crypto space, what kind of stuff gets him excited. We'll talk a little bit about why we love Nervos, and we'll see how there's chemistry. So with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to you.
Hey, can I just jump in here real quick, guys? Jonathan,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to restart to get my stuff working. Can you give me the host,
No problem.
the recording privileges?
So Mark is recording. I'll make it to you also, just in case it doesn't hurt to have multiple recordings, just in case something happens. So Michael, you can hit record, and for a little bit of background, we started this project about 3 months ago. Nervos is a layer 1 proof of work smart contract blockchain with an emphasis on sustainability. It has a built-in layer 2 for scalability, and it includes some interesting features like that Ethereum and other smart contract blockchains struggle with, like state rent, the ability for anybody to be able to run a full node and verify their own ledger of the state of a blockchain, which is a big part of decentralization. And we're very excited about this project, and we're looking for a storyteller, really, that has proven himself or herself with execution in the past, that can come on and work with us and the foundation to be able to create a narrative that we can bring to Western markets to help explain the differentiators and value drivers of this network. And so now with that, I'll pass the mic over to you.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Jonathan. So I'm going to share my screen, if that's okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yep, absolutely. And you want to just give us the TLDR of your background before we get into any visuals? We'd love to hear a little bit about who we're talking to.
Sure, that works. So my name's Mark. I got interested in the crypto space in around 2016. From there, I dove deep, particularly into Ethereum. I worked at Consensus, which is a kind of like an Ethereum accelerator and a venture production studio. While I was there, I was the 5th person on the marketing team and the first kind of media and video guy. I built out a team of 7, I believe we got to. The marketing team got to 60, which I also helped to build out. From there, we told the story of hundreds of projects. We did everything from, telling the why and the emotional side to the technical side. So I've become very familiar with blockchain projects, everything, down to the back end, telling the story of, say, Infura and nodes, up to kind of the more front end, meme consumer facing projects as well. I think that the promise of blockchain is incredibly exciting. I do think we still have a few steps to get there. I think we all also go through some sort of cycle with blockchain, which I'm sure everyone on this call has been through, where you're kind of like, wait, what? And then you're just insanely excited and think it's kind of the cure-all for every and all problem in the world. Then you kind of come down from that, hyped up image in your mind and reality, and you start to be able to better decipher what is a good project and what is, perhaps a bit of hype and just a bit of buzzwords. So I like to think that I've gone through that cycle probably multiple times, and I'm happy for that cycle because, it's a renewed sense of excitement when you get in the up cycle, and then it's probably a healthy dose of skepticism when you're in the down cycle, because as we all know, this space is very interesting and crazy. So with all that being said, I've done token launches. Probably my most notable one was I was a large part of the Grid Plus token launch, which went quite well. That was during the hype of 2017 and all that going on. And I've also just, worked in the tech and been in close contact with developers and gone to tons of blockchain conferences. So I feel pretty versed in the space. And outside of blockchain, I've just been a storyteller basically my whole life. Sorry about that siren. So, everything from, I enjoy making all sorts of weird videos. I have music projects. I have short films, basically anything that is fun to make, I like to make. And I really enjoy explaining the technical and the complex and kind of bringing that down to a more understandable and relatable concept for people that would want to watch it, whether they like technology or not. So it's kind of like entertaining education. So with all that being said,
that's great. We'd love to see some of your work, and that's a great background. And it is it's nice to talk to somebody that's kind of like been through the hype cycles before. I know I am I've been involved in some of the hypes that just never seem ending. In the space, especially when you have a close look at the whole DeFi industry, which changes rapidly, and there's some rewards and there's a lot of burn and heartaches. I'm looking at you, excited to see what you have come up with.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess from a first standpoint, I don't know how much of this you would want me to take control of, but I wanted to put together more of like a digital marketing plan as opposed to just a video, because I feel like, in doing videos and all that stuff, I have seen that, a video in and of itself, just one video, it can do great things, but also it needs to be connected to the larger system, to the larger marketing chain. So I kind of put together a bit more of a digital marketing plan, which obviously the focal point is this one story and this one video. But I just wanted to kind of prepare you for that. And then, so the next thing I think to start out with is like, why even market? Particularly at this stage, when you don't particularly have consumer-facing apps or anything like that. And I think it's the classic chicken and egg problem, which is, Nervos needs developers to make applications so that users then hook into the network. The problem is developers don't really want to develop on Nervos if there's not going to be users on Nervos. But I think the main way around that is to really just build the community. You guys are a new blockchain, so you want to, ideally it's going to be developer focused, or at least first movers and enthusiast focused at the very beginning. But I think if you have a large community base that the developers can communicate with, and people who are excited about what they're building, even if they're not necessarily like users waiting to use the app, that's huge. So, I think building your guys' community, be that on Telegram, through an email list, whatever, Discord, whatever platform you really want to use, I think would probably be first and foremost at this point. Because, you need traction. And the more traction you can get, the more developers are going to come and build things. And ultimately, that's what every blockchain really needs, is that one killer app to send it through the roof. So that is at least my take on marketing right now at this stage in the development of the blockchain. So we kind of have the why marketing. And then I was looking at you guys, and this is what's your story? And take this as almost a loose video script, but more so it's also what seems to be the Nervos story for me. And you can think of Nervos as either the company itself and its time in existence, or all of you involved in the Nervos project. I saw it as, 2008, that crisis hit. So many crises around the world have hit, like the Argentine peso devaluation and Venezuela we're seeing even today, and all sorts of stuff. And people got hurt. And that was rough. And as we all know, that's kind of where Satoshi Nakamoto's paper came out, and he was saying we can do this in a different way. So then I would say like around 2010, the world starts to get exciting. Or people who are finding out about this space are like, okay, there's this huge promise to do this differently, and everybody's getting incredibly excited. Then Ethereum launches, and things are still very much moving forward, but I think kind of this infighting begins. which you guys document a lot in your white paper. Not, you don't per se document the infighting, but you document these kind of opposing camps problems and views and scalability versus just a proof of work blockchain that is a store of value and all of this stuff. So I like to think of it in telling your narrative is all this infighting begins, and the true builders, sure, they're making their case, but also they're stepping back, they're taking notes, and they're building. Rather than argue or complain or try to tout some solution that isn't completely there, you're just looking at the two sides, seeing obviously there's truth in both sides, and you're making your blockchain to be better, to contain the best of both sides. Then from there, I think in the storyline, you kind of see all these promised utopias, and I almost imagine like everyone getting excited about what blockchain can do and all of these amazing things, but they're also kind of, these promises are turning into Lambos racing off into the distance and kind of fizzling out. And I think, all of these buzzwords and these cool projects start coming up, and some of them hold promise and go for a while, but a lot of them just make people rich. And the world all the while is getting crazier. And I like to think of Nervos as this group of builders and doers that are still just looking at everything and just making something better. And kind of as the world gets more chaotic, as the promises get higher and everything, Nervos steps back and they just build, and they make everything right. So we have the Lambos racing off in the distance, and now we kind of are at today, which is pandemics, unfortunately, riots, at least in the States, and the governments are just printing money to aid with all of this, and it seems like we're in a kind of crazy time. And now Nervos has just launched, 3 months ago, as you said. So you're kind of the next big thing in a world that needs it, or for a world that needs it, because you've been building and watching this whole cycle kind of play out, and now you're coming with something that is actually, feasible and scalable and secure and has all the right economic incentives in place. So I'm thinking in terms of a video, we'll get more into the process of what it would be like with working with me. I didn't want to come with
I just want to pause. I don't know if anybody else is having the same problem, but I feel like your screen share is not updating. I'm assuming that you're flipping through the slides as you go through that, but I'm just not seeing the update. Is anybody else having the same issue?
So
I think it's all been the what's your story slide.
Yeah, there's a story. There's a timeline here. It might be hard to read on a phone, Jonathan.
You can
Okay.
zoom in.
Fine.
That helps.
oh yeah,
All right, cool.
sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. All right, just making sure I wasn't missing any visuals. All right, keep going.
So I think actually, though, that was a good segue into what I was going to say. Is I thought rather than pitch you on an exact storyline, we would talk more about like kind of how we would work together. I'm going to skip forward a slide. And you guys are community driven, and obviously I would be on the execution side. But I think the way I tend to work with clients or people, if you want to, you can be as hands-on or hands-off, is, that would be kind of like the base for the ideation. But then from there, I'd work with whoever wants to be hands-on, and we'd just get as many ideas as possible. And I kind of have down here this multiple storylines idea. I think this could be shown as the video could open up in reference to kind of that Aragon video you really like. The video could open up and perhaps it's a young girl, and it looks as if it's in some sort of South American country, and she sees her dad crying on the phone, or what it is to represent that she's lost, that they've lost their life savings for no fault of their own. And you could have multiple instances of that story kind of playing out around the world, and then those are kind of the builders that they sit down at their laptops and they all kind of come out and they are presenting this thing to the world. When we get to today, maybe they're walking out into an empty town square or what have you. But what I'm saying in working with me is, like, I think the idea at this point is perhaps not quite the first thing to even focus on, because I think we would get all these ideas from the community, or I could go deeper into the ideation myself, present more of exact ideas. Once you guys kind of pick and choose certain ones, we put them all together. I would write the script, which this would be kind of sign-off points so that everybody gets it. So the script, we do the ideation, a little bit of collaboration. I walk away. I come back with an exact script, an exact idea. You guys sign off at that point. The script is probably the most important thing. After that, we go into, I would do a bit of a storyboard that will give you a bit more visuals as to what the video is, and then also we have here landing pages. Then, I'd step away once you guys are good with that, and we'd actually create the video itself and create any other assets that went along with it. Come back, give you revisions. Once everybody signs off on, okay, this is the final project, we would go live, and then we would probably, I don't know if you have an internal team or I could run ads as well. We would essentially then just iterate on the ads and make sure the ad performance is going as is, which is kind of like, how do you tell the story? So this is kind of how I see how you tell the story. This is another little flow chart, Jonathan. So you might have to zoom in to see it. But the way I see it is the video is really kind of down at this bottom rung for the most part here in red. And that's the video we would make. And I think, we can make it, we can put it on your channels. You can put it out through all your organic channels that you already have. But ideally, I'm seeing this video as something that we put before two different audiences. One is the developer, and one is kind of the enthusiast, as we'll call them. People who are just want to be in on that next big thing, or just really into being a first mover when it comes to tech. So I think there's various YouTube channels that already focus to those, focus their attention on those. But for the developer side, maybe it's like Ivan on Tech. It's other people who go deep dive into Solidity tutorials or what have you. And we take this video and we play it as a pre-roll ad before then. And there's a call to action that is basically saying, hey, click here to learn more. And I think we build out 2 landing pages, and one is very developer focused. And then same goes for if we can get it on Facebook. I know they are a little bit more strict when it comes to crypto. I think we could hopefully get around their advertising policies. Same thing, drive them to a developer landing page. And the same goes with the enthusiast pages. There's all sorts of crypto influencers like Doug Polk or what have you, and we don't have to even get their permission. We just place the video before them and hope that they click through to the landing pages, sign up, and then you kind of have these 2 segmented audiences. And from those audiences, whether it's an email campaign or your Telegram groups, or I would ideally want it to be something measurable so we know how well these ads and the video is working. We'll get a cost per lead, essentially. You then just start doing drip campaigns, which we'd have to build out on the back. So for the developers, we start hitting them with the hackathons that are upcoming, or any, new SDKs or APIs that seem to link in with the Nervos network. Just network progress in general can go to both. And then with kind of the more enthusiasts, you can have that separate email chain or that separate Telegram group talk about different exchanges you guys have been listed on, or deals, or really what have you. Once you have those audiences, you kind of have them ideally for a while, and you can continue to feed them the correct information. So that would be my thought. That's kind of how I would go about approaching this process, as more holistically, not just the video. Also, I wouldn't be opposed, if you see here on Facebook, there's kind of this 3rd level. A big thing I found with Facebook, whether you use me or not, I think what tends to work well is if you put out a video as an ad that's not the main video, and it's actually just a long video, as I'm sure you guys have a bunch of somebody like talking about Nervos, or really just, a longer informational video. And then you gather people who watch it for a certain amount of time. Say they watch it for 2-3 minutes. You can then deduce, like, okay, this person stopped on an ad that had 0 call to action, and it was just information on Nervos, and they watched it for 2 minutes. So you have to think, like, they're pretty interested in this. So then you retarget the main kind of shorter, punchier call to action ad at those people, as opposed to just like blindly throwing it out there to anyone and everyone on Facebook. So you kind of generate a warm audience and then retarget with the more call to action, punchy video. So that's kind of like how I would see the flow. I don't know. I have experience doing all of this, from building out the landing pages to even, setting up the drip campaign. I would definitely need help from your devs and your community lead to know what is going on with copy. But,
Sure, that's not going to be a problem. So there's a lot of one of the things that that attracted me to Nervos, and I think is just that it's just execution one after the other, and the devs that we have around the table are just like world class. So I think that whatever it was that we needed to be built, we probably would be, that wouldn't be such a challenge. whether it's the landing pages or even just like feeding you the right information regarding, what's up and coming. And the hackathons are things that, we're at the beginning of right now, but should be on regular cadence, whether that's every 2 months or once a quarter, we're not sure yet. A lot of it's just going to depend on rolling success, and building out the toolkit, how easy it is to build. And that's just going to take time and iteration, but for sure, we've got that. And just to give some feedback, and I'd love to hear some of the other guys on the call. I really like the holistic approach, and I would love to just better understand what type of a budget that we would need to be asking for from the foundation in order to be able to pull this off, which is a bigger, a bigger conversation than simply just saying like, oh, we're going to make a video.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So actually, in terms of budget, I think the video itself could really range, and that would depend on the idea. I think we could probably pull off a video that is pretty slick, for 10K. But if you really wanted to, have things shot in, like, say, South America and have a lot more live shots, also COVID makes this somewhat interesting. There's variables, as you all know, that we didn't have to take into account just a few months ago in terms of travel or who can actually film, etc. But I also think, if you wanted the video to be really something cinematic and spectacular, the video could also go, just the video itself could go up to like maybe 40K. And I would be happy personally kind of executing on either one of those. A lot of times with video, that's what it's kind of hard to say, is like almost in some ways budget comes first, because it's like, okay, well, we have this much, let's dream inside this box. So I think that could really be 10 to 40, the video itself. And then in terms of ad spend, I would recommend that I would think you would want at least 10,000 to really test this in ad spend. And that's money that's not going to me at all. That's going to Google, to Facebook, the gods that be right now. Because you just want to get a large enough sample size to make sure that this is working, and you'll be able to find your audience the better it goes. So, right there, that's really anywhere from like talking 20 to 50K in kind of hard costs. And then obviously I would want to be compensated in some manner for my time. So I would think, anywhere from, for holistically, I would say like anywhere from, we could make this work from 40 to 100, honestly. I would say.
Meaning total budget, 40 to 100.
Yeah, and I think that includes ad spend and other way, and we could break this down in different ways too, if you wanted to just like, maybe like have be like, okay, well, like your consulting fee, and then like we'll just worry about how much we spend on ads, and then like the video itself, the hard costs once we come up with the idea. Or you could just give me a budget to work within, and how much of that you want to be ad spend, because that's really like a fixed hard cost of, Facebook and Google are gonna, they just pay them. So I think that really is up to you all, in terms of how big you want to go with the video, and then how much you want to spend on ads. But I would think between 40 and 100 in total costs, we could get something pretty nice done. Yeah, that would be my estimate for now. I wasn't sure how.
Very cool.
Yeah.
No, I think that's, look, it's none of us that are here, the way that the process would work is that we have to, the community is going to decide who they think can do the best job, most cost effective. And then we would present that to the foundation, and then hopefully they would see eye to eye us on that. And then, we would actually be able to execute on it. So, I explained the process to you offline before, but I think it's good just to reiterate on it. And so I'd love if there's any samples of your work that you'd be able to show us. That would be really helpful to just drive the vision home.
Yeah, so that's kind of the last slide, is like, why me? So right before we get into samples, my background, as I mentioned at the beginning, is I've been in crypto for a while. I've been in video for longer than crypto, and I've also, in the last year or so, I've come up with a few blogs that are very, they're SEO plays. It's all about just getting winning that Google search, getting to the top of the list, and driving affiliate revenue or what have you. So I like to think, I have kind of the content creation and then the data analytics side for it. I like to think big picture, stay positive too. As you can tell, this is kind of more of like the whole flow as opposed to just the little video piece. And then in terms of work, like, do you want me to show it now? Here's some links to it. Do you want me to literally show it now?
Yeah, because also keep in mind there's going to be some people that are watching. So I would say if you want to just pick 2 things to showcase, like let's take 5 minutes and just like look at some of your work, that will give us some meat, just to, from maybe from a stylistic perspective, or even just, help us. It seems like, I don't know, it seems like the rest of the viewers here are a bit shy. So maybe this will open them up.
Sure. So I think a good one to start with would maybe just be my reel when I worked at Consensus. This will show you I just have this not on the Consensus channel. This will show you a vast array of projects that I worked on to kind of give you the idea of, everything that can be done, from animation to conference filming to whatever it may be. So we'll just watch this. It's quick, it's punchy. It won't give you the whole storytelling. We'll get into that next, but this will show you some of the capabilities.
Cool.
I think you've got to change the window that you're sharing.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay. Let me stop share real quick and then come back to that. Cool. Okay, I see now. Share. There we are.
Yep, looks great.
Cool. Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that was like, how do I get out of here? Okay. Yeah, so that was just sorry, I'm lost in my screen right now. There we go. That was just a quick share of kind of everything, and that's a pretty old reel, honestly. I've done a lot more projects from there, but that shows you kind of the wide capabilities and just the sheer amount of projects. I don't know if you recognized any of the projects in that video, but I don't know.
Yep, most of them actually.
Really, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's just been a lot, and I think that's again back to the kind of the hype cycle. I've been insanely excited about some of those projects. Still am excited about a lot of those projects, and I've also seen a lot of those projects rise and fall, and you just kind of live 100 years in 1 year in crypto space. So that's a bit of showing that.
Yep.
So I think let's see, in terms of maybe one to just show the whole way through, I'm still a fan of my Grid Plus video that had it was narrative. I was assuming we were going live action. I just realized this kind of right now, to be completely honest with you. I've been assuming that we've been going live action, as in live action as opposed to animation.
Well, that's because we showed you the Aragon video, which was live action. So that's pretty reasonable assumption. But again, we're flexible. We're just looking for something quality, and a lot of the people have just kind of been burned out by the by the animation style from the 2017 ICOs. So that's got we're up against that if we do anything animated.
Yeah, that's true. And I saw your guys' animated video, and I actually thought it was pretty slick. I thought that the person did a pretty good job in terms of animation style, and the script was good. The one thing I would say on that is, I think that video, in my mind, was a bit more technical than it needed to be. I could be wrong in that, but my thinking usually is if you're making a video or spending a lot of money on a video, you want it to be emotive and kind of like a why, because the truth is there's better ways to tell the people who care about, like, scalability and literally how you're achieving that. I think there's better ways to do that than a very slick video. You could have someone on screen presenting, or it could be an easier style video, or just your white paper. So I like to actually take the videos, keep them kind of high level, and then push them towards, like those landing pages that then hit you more with the literal tech specs of the project. Because I think most people's, and I don't think people on this call, but I think most viewers' eyes kind of glaze over when you start getting into like just scalability, etc. So I would personally probably want to go with a video that's a bit more, what we went over, like, we're builders, we're doing this because the world needs it right now, yada yada, as opposed to, here's literally how layer 1 works with layer 2. But I think it's great that you have both. I don't think there's ever anything wrong, but that was just kind of my takeaway from that video. I did think it was well done, but
I think the kind of like through this video series process, that's kind of been the same thing we've arrived at, is that we started out with something that was very much like explaining what's there and how it works. And we've kind of moved more towards like narrative or like why. So yeah, I think that that definitely resonates with the people that are working on this.
Nice. Okay. This one is a little bit more on the what still, but let's see. I've always kind of liked this Grid Plus. Oh, am I not sharing my screen? I'm sorry. So this was for the Grid Plus ICO or token launch, and it wanted to really highlight their energy agent, which was going to communicate with the blockchain and buy energy in real time from a peer-to-peer network. When I made this video, their token launch went quite well, and then they actually used this as the background for their site, for all their landing pages. So this was kind of like their main piece of collateral. At the time, I think maybe this video is a little too hoopla right now, but at the time when this was new, I thought this was when the hype was just starting, this was a great hype video that I think did quite well for them in terms of their token launch.
The Grid Plus Smart Energy Agent works for you. Using artificial intelligence in your electricity usage patterns, your agent anticipates your usage demand and automatically purchases energy on your behalf at the cheapest rate possible. Your agent has access to multiple electricity markets and can make real-time purchasing decisions. Using the Ethereum blockchain, your agent settles transactions instantaneously and purchases your electricity every 15 minutes. This all happens in the background, allowing you to relax and save. Setting up your agent is easy. Just plug it in, connect it to Wi-Fi, and deposit money using your Grid Plus mobile app. The agent is now ready to save you money. Do you have solar panels? Grid Plus pays users who put solar power back into the grid. What about a home battery? Your agent can put your battery to work, buying electricity when the price is low, storing it, and then reselling it when the price goes up. Your agent collects and manages your revenue seamlessly. It can automatically reinvest earnings to pay for future electricity usage, or you can cash out at any time. The Grid Plus agent brings you the lowest electricity prices available. It turns your solar panels and batteries into more profitable revenue streams. Join Grid Plus and help build the future of energy. For more information, head to gridplus.io.
So there was that video, and then we kind of, I had an interview with their CTO, and we kind of animated out a bit more how the blockchain works and how the energy grid works, and that was all on gridplus.io. So that was supposed to get consumers excited about the new way to buy and sell their energy and make money off of their solar panels, and drive them to learn more of kind of the the what. I do think that video was still a little bit what, but yeah, it worked well. So that shows kind of the narrative style of video.
Very cool. Yeah,
Very
the
cool.
shots were great. Yeah, I think what you said about the script being the most important part really comes through in that video.
Nice. Yeah, so I mean, outside of that, I just have a bunch of fun videos. There's more in the link in this presentation too. I mean, this is I've been in video for a while, so this is just a really pretty small sample of what there is. This is mostly crypto videos that I have going on this site. On top of that, I have, again, kind of music projects and what have you. But in terms of quality of shooting, I think it's there. I like to think that with the blockchain knowledge, I can do the script writing as good as anyone out there. And also, with your guys' help, I want to make this collaborative to some degree. I don't want to put too much work on your shoulders, but Nervos better than anyone. So I think I would be a bit arrogant or silly to think that I can write the best script without your all's help. So I would see it more as me also being a wrangler of ideas from you and the community.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I think we need help just like facilitating the process. That's like the biggest thing. And then definitely domain expertise around, refining a script and the shots, stuff like that.
Great. Yeah. Any more questions or requests or anything needed on my end?
I mean, I think it's great that you come with the outside perspective and also experience to help us figure out how do we aggregate these different ideas to make something cohesive, because I think we've kicked around a lot of different themes, and just sort of like that storyboard. I don't know if we go with the exact thing that you laid out there, but just like the idea of like figuring out where does this fit in with all the craziness that we've seen. I think that's an interesting starting point.
Great. Yeah. Again, yeah, the kind of the timeline, the storyboard, or whatever you want to call that, is it was pretty loose as I see you guys are picking up on. But yeah, I do think, to me, what was interesting about Nervos was, you guys are kind of coming in at an interesting time in the whole blockchain world and the world itself, and I think that should be utilized. You're kind of like the new kid on the block, but the new kid on the block who's been around the block a bunch. So I think you can use that to your advantage.
That's a great assessment.
No, this is great. I'm really excited to look at the rest of your portfolio. And I'm about to lose connection, so I'm going to hop off, but it was a pleasure. And I'm going to, if you can send me the recording that you have, I will put it on YouTube and then put it up on the Telegram chat, and then we'll be in touch through Telegram.
All right, that sounds good.
All right, sweet. Thanks, Mark. I think that pretty much covers it. I think we have our homework cut out for us.
Cool. Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
All right,
Awesome.
thank you.
Bye.